This episode contains mature language and situations. Listener discretion is advised. You wake to the sound of a train. The clack, clack, clack of wheels. In the distance, is that the sound of birds in a forest? No. It's angels in a choir. Or is it demons from hell? It doesn't matter. You have no memory of how you got here. All you know is that you're lost, and that now you belong to the Grey Rooms. Happy New Year, roomies. We got another ice-cold story for you to crack open here in the rooms. As we progress this season, we got a story that will really amp up the temperature. Join us as author Ashley B. Davis weaves a horrifying tale that will leave you at the edge of your seat. Speaking of twisted tales, we'd like to remind everyone that submissions for Season 5 are open. So if you have any terrifying tales you think might frighten us, send them on over so we can take a stab at it. There will be a link in the show notes with more information on the process, what we're looking for, and how to submit. And thank you for listening to all the ads that we now have in our episodes. For those that it affects, listening to those ads supports our sponsors. And by supporting our sponsors, you support the show. So thank you. So without further ado, please enjoy Episode 6.
Prior to this occasion, it had been a considerable amount of time since I'd actually gone through one of the Grey Rooms. My reintroduction was deeply unpleasant. But as I lay there on the cold floor of the complex, I could feel that some of the old magic was still at play. Many of my wounds from the Warden's playtime had healed. My headache was just a dull lump behind my left eye. I rose and pressed my back against the wall, bracing myself. I was still so very, very tired. Slowly, tenderly, I unwrapped the bandage that hid my empty socket. I lifted my hand to my face, traced the edges of my ocular cavity, The left side of my vision was still a haze. Apparently, the power of the rooms was insufficient, or it was disinclined to restore my eye.
Oh!
Todd,
Yeah, it's me. How are you holding up?
I was ripped apart by hellhounds not that long ago, and just emerged from a loci. So I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
What do you want? Has the Warden given you leave to taunt me as a reward for your service?
Oh, I'd never. Listen, I have a lot to say, not a lot of time to say it. Things are changing in the rooms, in management. Changing fast, faster than I've ever seen.
And here I thought you all would get along fine without me.
Damn it, man, I'm here to help you. Let me talk, will you?
Very well.
The Admiral has set everything on its ear. His recruits are the Founder's new favourite toys. They've been doing things. I'm not sure what, lots of talking, and then they head off on some kind of missions. The Architect's in a tizzy. There's been some kind of big shake-up with the board. She's been in meetings non-stop with folks from other realms, like all kinds of weird creatures tromping through the tower. Like they own the place. And there's a new version of the project up and running. It's weird. Weird even by our standards.
This is all fascinating, I'm sure. Why are you telling me?
I'm telling you because they're distracted. They're not thinking about you right now. And I think I can help you escape.
Escape? You and I both know that will never happen. Even if you were able to pull me out of the complex, where would I go? They'd discover it was you, Todd. You know they would. If the Warden finds out that you're talking to me, go back to your job. Stay safe. My time with the project is over. Nothing can change that now.
The project? You bloody idiot!
What?
You don't think I'm in here risking my skin for what? Shits and giggles? So I can get you back on the project? I'm your friend, you arsehole. I had to call in a bunch of favours to get things set up and rejected. Look, I know it'd be a lot safer, a lot easier to leave you rotting down there. Easier for me, anyway. But I'm not. You got people that want you free, and I can help you, so I will. I know what you think of us mortals. And you're right, every time you point out what a shit I was, I'll Barbie the boot with it, that's still true, yeah. But that's why I gotta do this, right? Because even though I talk like that bloke, the one who blew up the domes, even though I got his name and remember his chili recipe and all that, I ain't him, Bob. I just ain't. I don't have to prove that to nobody, but I want to know. So I'm here, helping your sad sack self find a way to jolly old freedom. You're always joying on to the guests about how their choices make them special, eh? Well, I'm choosing.
I quite literally had no idea what to say to that. The idea that Todd Mathis, of all people, would attempt to set me free. It was insane. But then, I looked up and down the endless corridors that stretched out to my left and right. What did I have to lose? Todd. Thank you. I did not expect this. Nor, on some level, do I think I deserve it.
You're a right arse of a demon, you know that.
I have been told as much, yes. So, what is your plan?
Plan's still in the works. Right now, I just need you to hang tighter than a crab's arsehole.
In the works.
I don't know how you figured out how to find one of the working doors down there, but that put the Warden into all kinds of fits. Do you think you can do it again?
Perhaps. I'll try.
Good. Shit, I can get out of here. Look, stay safe, all right? Find another door that'll throw the Warden off your trail for a while. We'll talk again soon.
Wait. What is this plan? God damn it, Todd. I stood on unsteady legs. I brushed my hands across my gray clothing, trying my best to remove the dirt and grime. And with my head held high, I moved off into the complex. For the first time in a very, very long while, I felt a bit like my old self. I might have been exhausted, defeated, but now I had a purpose. Even if it was given to me by a mortal. I had a purpose, but no idea how to find another working door. My knowledge of the original Grey Rooms was long years out of date. I'd asked management to keep the complex around as a kind of keepsake. The architect was extremely sentimental. After she took over the project, she thoroughly approved of the minor expenditure of resources required. The complex was originally built to confuse a mortal mind, to torment Raymond in a way unique to him, as well as provide him just enough succor between doors to keep him emotionally stable. After the incident that led to the conclusion of his time in the rooms, my orders had been to have him destroyed. I had ignored them. One of my first small acts of rebellion against management. I am still not quite sure why. Why did I allow the remnants of his mortal consciousness to remain? Why keep him here? I know some in the Alienist Lodge believe in signs and portents, but I do not. Still, it appeared that even after all these years, after everything that had transpired, the first guest of the Grey Rooms was still of some use. Raymond! Raymond, if you're still there, I need your help. I need to find a working door. I need you to lead me to a room. Please. I stood there in the darkness of the halls for long moments. I listened, hoping that he was nearby, that he was in the mood. And then, there he was, at the far end of the hall. A silhouette, a darkness against the deeper night. Raymond. Thank you. Where should I go? Can you lead me, like you did before? Wordlessly, he regarded me. I could just make out the light reflected off of his eyes. Twin mirrors. He turned and began to move, but this time he did not walk. He ran. Raymond, wait! For a mortal that had been trapped in this maze as long as he had, Raymond moved with surprising speed. I didn't understand why, until I heard the sound.
Oh, Bob.
He'd known. Somehow Raymond had known. The Warden had returned.
Why are you running, Bob? Do you think you can outrun me? Do you think you can outrun pain? Oh, no.
I didn't bother to reply. I needed to focus. My weary mortal shell was beyond the point of exhaustion. I put one foot in front of another, my eyes on Raymond's fleeing form.
Oh, and I love our little chat so much. But if you're not feeling talkative, then I
hasn't been out of its cage in so long. Oh. She mentioned she wanted to let it stretch its wings. And I knew just what to do.
It was all I could do to keep my legs moving, stride after stride. Raymond was always a hallway's length ahead of me, just disappearing around a turn. Sometimes I saw him pause to catch sight of me before he ducked around a corner, and I thought, in the dim moments where I could see his face, he was smiling.
Oh, it's going to be good. I've got a little snack and everything. And I can't wait to share this with the rest of management later.
And then, one more corner, and he was there, standing at the far end of the hall, that dark figure, his arm raised, pointed off to the side, my side. I looked and saw the telltale glimmer beneath the doorway, and not a moment too soon. The architect's beast rounded the turn. A nightmare in feathers and leathery skin. It barely fit inside the tight corridor. Its horrific skull scraping against the ceiling. Stubby wings dripped ichor onto the cement from clipped and broken pinions. And its eyes, terrible and malevolent, and worst of all, human. All too undeniably human. Came, she called him. Most mortal realms had known him once as Cain. She'd never told me how she'd come to keep him as a pet, and I had never asked. Now, he towered over me, only a few arm lengths away, hungry for pain and sorrow and death. I grabbed the doorknob and flung it wide.
No. How? Don't let him escape!
I threw myself at the doorway, being careful of the edges. For a fraction of a second, I could hear the sound of the beast's screams mingling with my own. Then the shimmer of the loci broke upon my face like water, shutting out sound and light, and finally, thought. Blinded, deafened, and alone, I fell. I fell forever.
Mojave sky above, straight road ahead. Should be simple, right? I tightened my hands on the wheel, but they wouldn't stop shaking. They'd started shaking as soon as I decided to take Lee down, months ago. Doing it had been easier than I expected. Butt of a pistol to the back of his head. Lee was human, fragile, just like anyone else. I had planned for everything, especially the worst. I expected to deal with that nagging feeling that it could all go wrong any moment. The cruiser could drive by while I unloaded Lee. Lee could somehow slip his bindings. Bastard always had been resourceful. I had planned for that too, and relieved Lee of anything that could be used as a tool while he was unconscious. Since Lee's betrayal, I had been watching him. I had gone to the store and landscape supplier in California City, where Lee worked, but had just missed him. Lee must have scented me on the wind, or just knew, like an animal does, that a storm was coming. As he left the rock yard, I was hit by panic, causing me to throw up my breakfast in the parking lot, organic egg whites in a gluten-free wrap. I was about to scrap the entire thing, but then I remembered what Lee had done. That man was a force of nature. He would be a superior organism, but for the fact that he was an asshole, destroying lives as carelessly as he blew through his own. What he'd done didn't matter anymore. I couldn't ignore it, as I'd done with most confrontations throughout my life. I needed to right the imbalance. The only way I could see that happening was over Lee's dead body. I had reached Lee's trailer as the sun crossed its meridian. Lee's truck was parked around the back, near a tin-roof shed. It couldn't have possibly housed anything of value despite the large "Do Not Enter" sign on the heat-warped door. Lee wasn't anywhere in sight. Listening at the front door, I heard an incessant rasping in the distance. Looking down the paved highway, which gave way to the dirt road I'd suffered my way down, I thought I might see a tumbleweed making its way along, but the horizon was empty. I wondered why that sound seemed familiar, like letting air out of a tire, infinitely. The front door was unlocked. When I entered, a faded burgundy couch flamed red in the sunlight. After closing the door, the color died down to a rain-soaked desert earth. It was an ugly couch. I looked around, expecting Lee to be posted up inside, lying in wait with a shotgun. After checking the entire trailer, cutting through languid dust motes, I tried to relax my tight muscles, tried to emulate the easy grace of a predator on the hunt. The instinct eluded me. And my eye caught the Crowfab anti-venom on the cluttered kitchen table, with some other potentially useful items. I made my way for it, but didn't have the chance to grab any of it before Lee walked through the back door. It forced me to hide and wait. But in the end, it had worked out better than expected.
My skull throbbed. It had come from behind. Whoever did this knew I'd see it coming. I knew quite a few people who itched for payback. That was the thing with the score. It wanted to be settled. When I got past the pain in my head, feeling like a sack of rocks had fallen on it, I realized I had been bound in duct tape, lying in the back of a spec-free van. This had to be a rental. That, and the driver's severely slicked hair, told me my abductor's identity. Tim had always had a weakness for organization. After all these years, I still remembered his clean, buffed nails.
With my knuckles aching and stiff around the wheel, I realized that the anti-venom I'd seen on Lee's kitchen table probably had a lot to do with the hissing I heard from the shed. I shuddered. Who left that stuff lying around on their kitchen table? The sky darkened, muting the arid golden landscape to the colors of a dream. I opened my eyes wide to the lazy afternoon light. This was no dream. I've been over this 1,000 times.
I knew you was coming.
I repositioned the rearview mirror so I didn't have to see Lee in the back seat. My hands were shaking again, and again I steadied them on the wheel, ignoring him.
You don't want to talk to me, Tim? Don't you think we'd have some good conversation after all we've been through? And not to mention the predicament we're in now.
My stomach twisted. Inside, it was a cocktail of rage and nerves. I'd forgotten to gag Lee. But that was fine. I would not be swayed by Lee's rhetoric. We are not in a predicament. You are in a predicament.
I'd hardly call being stuck on a road trip with my old buddy a predicament.
I refused to look back and see if he was joking. Because he would, even in a moment like this. Though I usually prefer to stay 10 under the limit, I sped up.
Where we going, Tim?
I didn't answer. The van arrived at the green mirage along the highway between California City and Kramer Junction. It shouldn't have existed, that green, in this place, but it did. Lost in thought, I almost drove past the entrance. Jerking the wheel to pull in, the tires lost traction. My stomach dropped as the van fishtailed.
Get your foot off the brake. Turn into it.
I ignored him, set to try and fight the centrifugal forces. When we rested to a stop, I looked down the road, chest heaving.
That first rain is always the most slippery.
Regaining composure, I carefully turned the vehicle around and drove into the stretch of desert. The area received runoff from a nearby elevation, so it looked like an oasis in the driest desert North America had to offer. I drove between two pylons that seemed to stand sentinel.
You got me bound pretty good here, Tim. Do you expect to drag me to the gallows? 'Cause you ain't gonna be able to drive the whole way for rocks. Why are you doing this out here anyway? You could have done it in my trailer, or taken me out to...
Because you don't deserve a comfortable death. I'm gonna kill you out here in the middle of this dead desert.
Dead? This desert's very much alive.
I glanced through the rearview mirror. A loud pop echoed outside the van's controlled climate. I parked on an uneven bit of ground and got out to find the front right tire had blown. I hadn't planned on this. I would have to change it later. For now, I had to focus on Lee. When I opened the double doors, I was startled by Lee's stony expression. I caught a purchase on the tape and pulled Lee out. He fell heavily onto the ground and looked like a silver fish out of water. I watched the sweat run a shimmering course through the forest of stubble on Lee's jaw. Relishing in having the upper hand, I left Lee there and walked into the green stretch. I had wanted a place further from the road that would yield it under a shovel. I would have to dig a deep enough hole so animals couldn't bring the body back up. The body? I was already thinking of Lee as dead. Today, I was a god. Turning back to look at the van, I was struck by the thought that it was too bad the dealership hadn't carried one in a more earthy color. I knew it couldn't be seen from the road, though, because I'd checked just to be sure. Then I began to drag Lee.
You're sweating pretty fierce there, Tim. You're gonna overheat. Better drink you some water. Why'd you even wear that suit, Tim? It probably cost you, what, $300, $400? You'll ruin it.
I didn't want to look obvious. Irritated that I'd answered, I wiped the sweat from my forehead and searched the trees and scrub brush. I should have come here first, but I had assumed with the map and the cover of the trees, everything would be easy enough from there.
So you're saying if you looked more like me, you'd have been stopped?
A red-tailed hawk regarded them from a branch. I stopped to roll up the sleeve of my jacket and noticed a sand-colored lizard skitter onto a rock. A shadow darted into my view. Then the rock was vacant. I looked up as the hawk pried the belly from the lizard. The lizard flailed, still very much alive.
You don't come out here much, do you, Tim?
You can't talk your way out of this. Your right to defend yourself has expired, null and void.
I ain't aiming to defend myself. Just making conversation.
I'm not much for chatting right now. The wind picked up. Electricity spiked in the air. I stopped to catch my breath and looked around. The thunder was closer now. Lee began to whistle. Will you stop that?
What's the matter, Tim? Didn't you bring a map?
Of course I did.
Didn't know they made maps of the desert. Much less every tree and shrub in the wash.
I fell to my knees and dug my fingers into Lee's sun-baked neck. His face rapidly shifted from the color of leather to that of a plum. After a minute, I released him. I couldn't get ahead of myself. I had to stick with the plan. I set to dragging Lee again.
You're not sweating anymore, Tim. Break open one of them cacti pads right there, and you'll find a bit to keep you going.
What a stupid suggestion, I thought, when I had bottled water in the van. I looked over at the fleshy, prickly plant. I didn't feel like I had heat exhaustion. I felt lucid as hell. All over the wash, flowerless rattleweed lived up to its name as the wind picked up again. Storm began with what I imagined to be the sound of clouds ripping open, on which Lee knew to just be the first rain slapping the dehydrated ground. I finally reached a path of earth that would give under the shovel. The thought of returning to the van for my things did not seem so bad now that it was raining. I walked a couple of circles around the clearing where I planned to dig the grave. Satisfied, I started to go back to the van, expecting Lee to say something, but only heard the rain. Humidity strangled the air. Something flickered in my peripheral eye. Thought of the hawk seizing the lizard before I could even blink. I didn't have time for this. Forcing myself not to look around, my heart rate picked up, and I walked faster, cursing for not grabbing the map. Relief lightened my step when the van came into view. Opening the door, my duffel bag was gone. I was sure I'd left it on the passenger seat. I searched, frantic, until I found it in the back. This needed to end. He needed to end. I ran back, the bag slapping against my thigh. Lee was still there, eyes closed as the rain bounced off his face like duck's feathers.
You know, these here yucca palm have root systems longer than damn near 7 men. They can outlive any man, too. Thousands of years, some of them.
I glanced at the Joshua trees. Lee was staring at me, gaze coarse as sand. I couldn't look at him and began to dig. I laid the shovel down when I was done. It was time for the next step. Retrieving the gun from the duffel, all of my muscles quaked. I grabbed the silencer and screwed it to the end of the gun. Lee's voice mingled with the rain.
Just a little explosion of powder, and I'm gone, Tim.
I didn't answer. On to the next step. Retrieve a plastic bag from the duffel to catch the casings.
You see that on CSI? Study it in some crime investigation book. Very good, Tim. You got it all planned out.
Step 4. I extracted the glove I brought to safeguard against gunshot residue.
Some men like to get their hands dirty, Tim.
The rain poured down harder, and the dark sky enveloped me. I put the gun through the mouth of the bag and chambered around through the plastic.
Now you'll want to make sure you...
Shut up, Lee.
That's the first time you said my name. In here I thought you'd forgotten it. But you didn't, did you, Tim? And you haven't forgotten what I done. I would do it all over again. I will do it again.
The sound of the shot punctured the air. Dizzy with the sound and the power, I realized I'd missed. I hadn't expected the gun to feel so heavy in my hands.
You can't kill me.
He was not begging for his life. It was a statement. I steadied my arm and locked eyes with him. This shot found its target, Lee's skull. The sound of the silenced shot burrowing through flesh and bone was not as momentous as I had expected. Watching, I waited for Lee's mocking eyes to change, but they remained impervious to death. I wedged the gun under my arm and removed a glove. The rain had made the outer edge of Lee's new hole to mud, and it had sunk back in. The storm was howling. The wind vibrated through the landscape. The desert was laughing at me. I set everything down to dig, but I could only dig as fast as the water filling the hole. Hoisting myself out, grasping at the melting edge of the hole, I crawled to Lee's body and pushed him in. The cadaver landed with a sickening plop as it settled into place in the mud. I imagined hearing the plop as satisfying moan. It was Lee or the earth sighing at the reunion. I sat back on my heels, knees sinking in the mud. The job was not done. I extracted the gun from the bag and slipped it into my waistband. Getting to my feet, I stared into the hole at the body that seemed to be sleeping, trying to see Lee's face in the dark. Unsettling. I leaned forward, reaching for the shovel, and slipped. The bag I held from the gun flew out of my hand, and the brass casings glittered against the blackening sky as they fell. Shit! Where were they? Searching the soft mud around me, my hand hit the small metallic object. I found one. Just find the other, and I can get back to the plan. Rustling around to the second of the raspy ground bush, my hands moving through the ground under the living plants despite the yellow of death the desert placed on them. And then I saw it. The second shell. It landed by a pale green rock. Reaching for the shell, a sudden hard pinch made me stumble back. A rattling cut through the humid air, intertwining with the rain. It reminded him of the rain stick Lee had showed him once, many years ago. His hand lit ablaze in pain. A spot of the pinch turned excruciating. What had pricked him? Staring at the rock's scaly pattern, straining to see through the water dripping into his eyes, he saw pale green, like moss, on the north side of trees. The pattern seemed to wrap around a coiled form, not a rock. Shit. My voice was swallowed by the storm. Lee would have known what to do. The Mojave Rattler reeled back at me. I dropped the bag with the casings I had planned to collect and cradled my swiftly bloating hand to my chest. Everything would be okay. I'd get back to the vehicle and could finish later. Just concentrate on each step ahead. But then I looked to my hand and jumped to the side of it. Where my hand was now cartooned, red and fat. My breath came in unsatisfying rasps. I couldn't get enough oxygen. The venom was setting in, and the edges of my vision darkened. The pain was spreading, radiating out from the wound, and so painful that my legs gave out. I had to get out. I crawled in the direction of the van, my right arm nearly useless and limp all the way up to my shoulder. I strained with each movement, and I made in the direction of the van. Poison was petrifying my veins. I could feel it in my chest. My aortic artery desperately contracting, desperate for a good batch of blood. But I couldn't focus on the feeling as the venom attacked my neurological functions. Confounded and weak, I fell into the hole I'd cut in the earth, and onto Lee's body. My body tried to valiantly fight against the strain, but it was no match for the venom of the Mojave Green. Somewhere bouncing in my skull as the pain took me was the idea that Lee was somehow responsible for this. But all that was left of Lee was one open eye, staring up through the earth and mud that had already started to take him.
Feud, written by Ashley B. Davis, with performances by Alistair Mackey as Tim and Brandon Green as Lee. Trading Places was written by Michael Zenke, featuring performances by Graham Rowat as Bob, Alistair Mackey as Todd, and Jason Wilson as the Warden. Hello. Musical composition by J.M. Scherf. Episode artwork, web development, and creative direction by Kathy Pertit. Social media and Patreon management by Brooks Bigley. Videography by Hale Scherf. Community management is by Tori Miller. And audio engineering and sound design was by me, Jason Wilson. Well, that was a horrible way to go out. I guess now I've truly seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I should probably stick to my day job. Speaking of our patrons, we would also like to take the time to thank our patrons once again, and to any of those who have taken the time to leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Those reviews keep us at the top of the charts and makes it easier for more twisted souls to find the show. And before I get into this list, it's going to be extensive with the changes we've had over at Patreon. A lot of people are renewing and updating their current subscriptions, so I feel it's only proper to list everyone. So patrons like Queen Cam, Ellen Houghton, Eric Phones, Jackalbot Snows, Lynn Browning, Patrick Stewart, Ronan Kumori, TJ Hodder, Amanda Siegfried, Arthur Unk, Evan Jaffe, GT, Michael Krebs, Nightmare Rabbit, Pussvagine 69, Richard Wright, Ryan McGann, Aaron Anthony, Adam Poston, Amy Nikolai, Annalise Belladonna, Aura Hart, Colton Quickle, Danny the Spoon Lord, Ellie Dowell, Emily Cullen, Engineer Cy, Eric Pritchard, Gage Mecro, Harrison Lively, Jason Porras, Jeremiah Overstreet, Joanna Walker, Julian Rether, Kelly Bear, Ken Wilson, Klaus H., Laura Lupinetti, Mary Jane Dillevue, Megan Pruitt, Michael Velez, Mitch Garretts, My Ex Does Porn, Paik Carey, Ramius, Riley Warren, Rorschach of Flesh, Ryzan the Mad, Sandy King Carpenter, Scott Johnson, Sean Gary, Serena Eli, Spirit Live, Talisha Gallman, The Good Prof, Teresa Tabor, Undisputed Baron of Disneyland, Wolf Delta Pi, Zektros Verascu Shaktolas, Taylor Williams, Kyle Wilcox, Michael Beckwith, Howard Flett, Matthew Smithdeal, Christopher Baker, AJ Blevins, Antoinette Portillo, Brian Brylow, Bridget Criswell, Bull Gerbil, Dana, Denise Pinto, Dorothy Jones, Dustin Armstrong, Flumens Themerwolf, Godzilla Eyes, Hislet, Matt, Meg Pexon, Melissa Navoa, Melissa Robertson, Michael, Mike Devine, Natalie Brown, Rhiannon, Rona Platt, Ross Marker, Rug Doctor, Scott Savino, Josh Carlino, Lockstar, Mesa, Star, Alejandro Franceschi, Alex Vega, Callisto Aris, Chris Barth, Debbie Furr, Ion Alien, Jennifer Burke, Jennifer Durham, John Hesterman, Caitlin Mauk, Kitty Kate 55, Lee Fazig, Nicholas Medicus, Nude Noodles, R.L. Platt, Ronald Watson, Scotty, Selena Matthews, Teresa Muro, Tommy Hernandez, Vasilina Terzieva, Ian Dominy, Brad Bone, John Grills, Justin Thulu, Lizzie B., Mark Taus, Sky Isa, Adam Kunzwich, Karn Hampton, Haley's Vomit, Jordan Arntz, Kathleen Clyde, Rebecca Edwards, and Tula. And don't forget, we have made changes to our Patreon, so if you have not changed your tier yet, jump on over there. And we've even implemented an annual membership so you can pay everything up front and not have to worry about dealing with anything per month. And if you would like to join, then please head on over to patreon.com/The Grey Rooms today. Find the tier that's right for you. Look at all the great rewards we have, including subscription boxes this season, and help support the show. You keep this running. So thank you for all of your support, and thanks to all of you for your continued support. The Grey Rooms is now available on iHeartRadio's Spreaker app. So head on over there, find the show, and support us on iHeartRadio's platform. But The Grey Rooms is also streaming for free on Spotify. Just get the Spotify app or open the browser and search The Grey Rooms. You can also find us on any other podcast platform. And we here at The Grey Rooms love our fans, and we want to give back to you in the best way that we know how. We have a lot of fun things to show you, and we hope that you like them. You can find out more by joining us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook. And we took your advice and extended an olive branch to all of the tortured souls who have passed through the rooms. Our emotional support group is always looking to help you with all of your needs. And don't forget about our merch store. It's full of epic designs and logos for you to sport, showing the world you are a survivor of these very rooms. All of this can be found in the show notes or on our website at thegrayrooms.com. And of course, I conclude every episode by reminding you of the best community in all of the interwebs. Firstly, Happy New Year. Thanks for spending it with us. We truly hope that the change from 2021 to 2022 will be positive for all of us, because we need it. Absolutely. And secondly, I don't know if you can tell or not, I'm kind of getting over a little bit of a cold. So I have an extra deep, raspy voice now. But yeah, that's all that is. But enough about me. I'm sure you've heard enough of me already. Back to the Discord. If you're an author and you want to learn how to write better, or just want people to critique your work, our Discord channel. If you're a gamer and looking for people to hang out with, our Discord channel. If you're somebody who just wants to meet, mingle, and get to know the greatest people on the internet, our Discord channel. We have another upcoming movie night very soon. Our Discord channel. That's just for our patrons though, so if you'd like, stop on by patreon.com/thegreatrooms and find the tier that's right for you. With new changes that have taken place over there, plus with a couple of items that we're currently in the works of adding to it, becoming a patron couldn't be more enticing than right now. And why not fire off the new year with a subscription to support the Grey Rooms? That would be wonderful. Thank you. And then you can join us for movie night over in the Discord channel. Again and again and again, I say it and I mean it, and it's so great to see people come into the Discord and then they say, you know, he was right. If you do not have our Discord channel in your life, then there is a hole, a massive hole that must be filled. Fortunately, the cure is more cowbell. Wait, well, our Discord channel. Anyways, I'm rambling on. We have a lot more work to do because you see, this is only episode 6, and we have quite a bit left before the season concludes. Keep yourselves posted for all the upcoming stuff that we have, including the Ghost Signals podcast that we just released on our platform. So go search that and give that a follow and give it a listen to. Jeff's great, does a wonderful job, and that's again put out by Grey Rooms Productions. So with all of that and everything else we have going on, I'm going to get back to it. So till next time, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
This has been a Grey Rooms production. Copyright 2021 and 2022.